He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Do we believe in liberty or tyranny? Number 11, Mr. Producer, let's get that ready. I want you to listen to Bernie Sanders in Los Angeles today on Fox. You know, it's a weird thing. The Stalinists and their ilk want to put me and others in the position of defending billionaires. And yet I'm not defending billionaires. I'm defending you, Mr. and Mrs. America. The Stalinists and their ilk think they're clever. They're able to manipulate language in order to manipulate thought. They do it a lot. They're good at it. Even some Republicans start to sound like them. The media, for sure. A wealth tax? Any government that has the power...
NMLS 182.
Any government that has the power to institute a wealth tax has the power to destroy your private property rights. It's that simple. Once the principle has been breached, the principle's been breached for everybody. Now, what is wealth? Let's start there. What is wealth? Now, wealth doesn't mean you're a billionaire. If you have a savings account, that's wealth. You get a paycheck, that's wealth. This phrase wealthy has come to mean rich or very rich. But what is the issue here? The government taxes and spends. We have a massive debt that's eventually going to sink this country. It's not as if they actually need a wealth tax. There's really no limit that's placed on their spending. It's not as if they don't have enough money. And it's always the same thing. The blue states that want a wealth tax, that have the highest income taxes, the highest gasoline taxes, the most multiplicity of taxes. Now a wealth tax. Let's listen to Bernie Sanders for a moment. He's in California campaigning for a ballot initiative on a wealth tax for billionaires. And listen to how he phrases this. If he doesn't sound like an absolute Stalinist communist, then tell me what he does sound like. Cut 11, go.
They are sick and tired of people like Sergey Brin, the co-founder of Google, who is spending $20 million to defeat this tax on billionaires.
All right, let's stop right there. So he's attacking this man by name. I don't know who he is. I don't know if he's a Democrat or liberal, but he's obviously co-founder of Google. He's very, very wealthy. How many of you use Google? Do you use Google, Mr. Producer? Most people use Google. Google has a purpose. Not just research, but it's an incredible source of commerce and wealth creation for average people. So what if Sergey Brin didn't exist? What if he didn't co-found Google? And if he's worth $200, $300 billion, how does that affect you or me? The fact that he has accumulated that kind of wealth doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect the plumber. It doesn't affect the electrician, the cop, the fire. It doesn't affect anybody. Except if you destroy his wealth, then it affects everybody. Because Google ceases to exist. The employees who are behind Google cease to exist. All the intellectual property, all the brilliance and genius that went into it is for naught. And what's the government going to do with the money? What if all that money that he has, whatever it is, and all the money that Google has goes to California, goes to the federal government? How long will that last? It'll be gone in a couple of years. Gone for what? We see the waste, the fraud, the abuse. It's unbelievable. The government's not accountable to you or me. So where will it go? Go ahead, please.
Yes. Mr. Brin, you are worth $245 billion.
Now let's stop. Why does he say this? To create anger and jealousy. People say, wait a minute, I only earn $73,000 a year. That guy's worth $245 billion. Why the hell should he have $245 billion when there are people starving? When there's homeless people, when people can't afford homes? Why should this guy get $245 billion a year? And when is enough enough? Rather than, he's created millions of jobs directly with Google and jobs related to Google. He's created God knows how many small businesses and even larger businesses related to Google. He has made research easier. In other words, there's a reason he's worth $245 billion, because we, the people, use his service. So how does it hurt us that he's worth $245 billion? It doesn't. It hurts us if by force, because that's how you'd have to do it, by force of law and enforcement of law, that you would take his money away, leave him $1 billion, take $244 billion. Let me tell you another secret. That money is not in a bank account. It's not in a mattress. That means Google would have to be sold off in bits and pieces for that kind of a money, liquidity, to be realized. So you would destroy an entire industry and related industries and businesses and jobs. And you, Mr. and Mrs. America, your ability to use Google. And for what? $245 billion. The government wastes that money. Federal government wastes that money in 1 year. And what does Bernie Sanders actually know about economics? Absolutely nothing. The Marxists, the Stalinists, they replace economics with ideology. Redistribution of wealth, capping income, capping profits, redistributing. Well, that's not economics. That's ideology. So Google may produce $1 trillion worth of wealth. I'll bet it creates something like that worldwide. So it creates more wealth than the co-founder is worth. Why is that bad? And if you take this man's money and you give it to the homeless or give it to this, we've given trillions, tens of trillions of dollars through our income tax system and state income tax systems and all these programs and everything for the homeless, for the hungry, for those without homes and so forth and so on. And there's still homeless and hungry and people without homes. Go ahead.
Since Trump was elected, you have become over $100 billion.
Now, what does that have to do with Trump's election? In 1 year, over $100 billion richer. It has nothing to do with the Trump administration. It has nothing to do with government at all. Nothing to do with the Republican Party, the Democrat Party. They're chugging along. They're making more money. Isn't that a good thing? And by the way, how many of you have IRAs? How many of you have 401ks? And they invest in mutual funds and, diversification and so forth and so on. You are investing your future, your pension, your retirement in companies like Google. In companies like Google. You want them to do well, so you have a better pension when you retire. Go ahead.
Listen to the needs of working people.
I told you, what does this have to do with the needs of working people? This man, Sergey Brin, or any of these billionaires or millionaires, or you, Mr. and Mrs. America, you're not taking anything from anybody. You're contributing to society. Some of you are in the service industries. Some of you are in production industries. Some of you are in the information industries. You are a contributor to our economic society, to our growth, to creating other jobs that you're not even aware of. Perhaps creating other businesses and ideas that you're not even aware of. Other products that you're not even aware of. Just based on your free action, your free activity, your free choices, and your jobs, and your businesses. It has nothing to do with blaming Donald Trump, blaming him for somebody getting richer. Why is it that the people on the dole are the ones we're supposed to celebrate and praise? Why is it that it's illegal aliens we're supposed to celebrate and praise? This is the nature, the ideology of the Marxist, of the Democrat Party. Everybody should be dragged down. Capital, investment, inventions, productivity, entrepreneurship should all be dragged down in service to Bernie Sanders, massive government programs, a massive leviathan of bureaucracies and so forth. To what end? To what end? Go ahead, please.
Stop threatening the people of California. Stop paying your fair share.
Threatening the people of California. Mobility is freedom. The right to leave one state and go to another. The right to leave a city and go to another. Does Bernie Sanders not believe that? He left Brooklyn and he went to Vermont. They hate the idea of mobility. That's why they hate the idea of federalism in states, unless, of course, they're promoting illegal immigration and so forth. Then they love it. They want to rule over us. And so these billionaires, millionaires, others are saying, you know what, I'm going to leave California, as many have, who are not billionaires and millionaires. They're retirees, working people, because they can't stand it. You have a top tax rate there of 13.3%. Bernie Sanders says it's time they pay their fair share. How about all the employees that work for Google who are paying taxes? Are they paying their fair share and contributing to society? Are they paying their fair share? The federal government is worth, well, it's in the hole, $300 trillion. You want to know the truth? But it raises trillions through our taxes. But it's not enough. More when I return. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, folks, I spend time on this because it's important. It's not something that can be addressed in 30 seconds. we have to recalibrate how we approach these things and how we think about these things. A wealth tax or these massive inheritance taxes, they're immoral to begin with. As Milton Friedman used to say, parents really work for their family, not for themselves as individuals. We talk about individuals, and that's important, but parents really work for their families. So they work hard. Let's say it's a small farm. They break their backs. They earn some good money, but it takes good money to continue to run a farm. It takes capital. You know, just for the fertilizer, just for the seeds or whatever, the plantings, the equipment, running the equipment, and on and on and on. Most of these Stalinists, Marxists, don't know anything about running farms or running a pizza parlor. Or only thing they run are their mouths, pretty much. And so a wealth tax or an inheritance tax, you're taking the labor from the individual. Labor. You spend most of your time working. Now, if this interests you, and our history interests you, and faith interests you, you're going to love today's Liberty's Voice videocast. We go very deep into John Locke, into the Declaration. We go very deep into individual liberty and juxtapose it to the left. It's for people who really want to learn this stuff and understand it. And I hope you will check it out. It's available for free. And as I said, it overlaps with what I do on radio and what I do on TV on Fox. Rumble, we have a big presence now on Rumble, over 650,000 followers, and about 125,000 people who view the video podcast whenever I run it. YouTube, not so much, but we're just getting started. We had our inaugural 3-day run. It went very, very well. We're going to do it 3 times a week, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Just go to Rumble at the Mark Levin Show and follow it. And you can go to YouTube at Liberty's Voice. But go ahead and view it. Get a taste for what we're doing. I'll be back.
On the straight and narrow path, you have a guide. Mark Levin. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
Just to show you what a moron Mondami is, he wants to have massive property tax increases and then freeze and cap rents. So what does a landlord do? Well, you'll have housing units that just turn into slums. Just because these people are ideologues doesn't mean they know a damn thing. And one more thing on the wealth tax idea. Over at the, the Tax Foundation, a great group in Europe, they looked at this. Many developed countries in Europe have repealed their net wealth taxes in recent years. Among many, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development countries, the big ones, only 4 currently impose one: Colombia, Norway, Spain, and Switzerland. Countries have repealed their wealth taxes for a variety of reasons. They raise little revenue, create high administrative costs, and induce an outflow of wealthy individuals and their money. Many policymakers have also recognized that high taxes on capital and wealth damage economic growth. This is basic stuff. Basic stuff. And they go through what Germany tried and what Spain is doing. And they go through a lot of these examples. Wealth taxes disincentivize entrepreneurship, leading to less innovation and less long-term growth. Wealth tax reduces wages, destroys jobs, reduces the stock of capital. All income groups are worse off under a wealth tax due to decreased economic activity. And they look at the GDP effects. Even a small increase in the wealth tax rate can lead to capital flight, wealthy individuals relocating to neighboring jurisdictions. And if you had one in our country, they'd leave the country. Money is like water, if you think of it that way. Money's like water. And it's going to flow to where there's a gap. To where there's a gap. So these wealth taxes are a disaster. A lot of these socialist countries have tried it. Many developed countries have repealed it, including Austria, Denmark and Germany, the Netherlands, Finland, Iceland, Luxembourg, Sweden, France. They've all repealed their wealth taxes because it kills wealth. Now, I would prefer if all these countries would have massive wealth taxes. That way, all the billionaires and all these businesses and all their money would come into the United States. So Bernie Sanders wants to kill jobs, wants to kill working families, wants to kill economic development and growth, medical advances and technological advances. He wants to turn America into a third world country. You know what countries don't have billionaires, Mr. Producer? Third world countries. Unless, of course, they're running the countries and stealing the money from the people. That's where the billionaires are. Hamas has billionaires, and on and on and on. But the people are poorer, if not poor. And that's what Bernie Sanders would do. You know, these Marxists and these economic socialists, if it wasn't for what's left of capitalism, even the programs that they put in place wouldn't succeed. But because you still work your ass off, you still pay your taxes, you're still creating things, fixing things, serving things, and so forth and so on, you make it possible for these fools to put in place some of what they want to do. But at some point, some of what they want to do becomes most of what they want to do, and it's crushing for you. And you reach a point where you're sick of paying for everybody else. You're sick of subsidizing everybody. We're now even importing the poor from other countries, illegal aliens. Now we're paying for their health care, their food, their shelter. And that's considered for the people. For the people. Has nothing to do with helping the people. They call it these names, wealth taxes. They ought to call them job-destroying taxes, because that's what they are. I want to pick up on another matter utterly unrelated to this, but I wanted to mention it early on. You folks, and not many in this audience, who think fondly of Tucker Carlson because of his days on Fox, or his days at the Weekly Standard, or his days on CNN, or whatever, that's not the same person. In addition to being a Jew hater and an Israel hater and a Christian hater, an American hater, an Islamist promoter, promoting Third Reich promoters, promoting Hitler promoters, denouncing Churchill, and on and on. Despite all this mental rot that has become Tucker Carlson, this guy's a drama queen. He goes to Israel because he's going to debate Mike Huckabee, a very honorable man, a man of faith, a Christian pastor, among other things, but a fantastic human being. And my stepson works for him, and we couldn't be prouder of both of them. But this has nothing to do with that. So Carlson doesn't go into the country of Israel. He stays at the airport, and he stays in the private jet section of the airport. He flies in on a private jet. People are saying, who paid for that? Man of the people. But that aside. And he had this interview, and we must insist that when he puts it out, he puts out the entire interview without edits, because if you're like me, you want to see how this went. I have no idea. I don't ask. But we want to see the whole thing. All this cackling like Harris and so forth. We want to see the whole thing, warts and all. Because he's such a genius, we want to see how he debates. I'm guessing Huckabee kicked his butt because he creates this drama. He's now being called Tucker Smollett. Remember Jesse Smollett with the fake story about assault from MAGA? And so he comes through the private VIP section of the airport for special treatment, and he gets special treatment. And others in his entourage the day before, camera people and audio people and so forth, they're interviewed by what's effectively Israel's customs, like everybody is who comes to Israel, and they're very thoroughly vetted because obviously they have to worry about terrorism and so forth. Nobody's detained, nobody's maltreated or mistreated, nobody's abused. It's the process. Tucker goes through a streamlined process. He paid for it for the VIP treatment. But that's not how Tucker spun it. He leaves Israel, I should say the airport, never goes into Israel. A number of Christian groups, Israeli Christian groups, wanted to show him around, show him how Christians live in Israel, how they're treated in Israel. He wanted nothing to do with it. He's got his propaganda down. He lies about what goes on in Israel with Christians. But the Christians living there, multiple groups asked him to come visit, and he refused. He refused to go into the holy sites to see how they are preserved and protected, whether they're Muslim, Christian, or Jewish. He wouldn't go. He's a prima donna. But he's not going to change his narrative, not to his masters in Qatar. So he leaks, or has somebody leak, to the Daily Mail, which has really become a sleazy operation. Sleazy operation. To a reporter there. He used to work for Tucker Carlson. A reporter, quote unquote, who used to work for him. And he leaks to that reporter that he was detained, that effectively he was abused, that his people were. The ambassador comes out and says, that's not true. The airport authority there comes out and says, that never happened. The government of Israel comes out and says, that's not right. That's not what happened. It's a lie. But they were smart enough over there to have video cameras, which are everywhere in Israel. That's now been online for the last several hours, showing he was treated like a gentleman, showing that he was quite happy, showing that nothing of the sort happened to him. There's a couple points I want to make about this and the reason I'm raising it. Number one, this guy's a lowlife. He's a lowlife. He's a liar. Number two, there's something mentally wrong here, in my humble opinion. Something unhinged and obsessive about the guy. I don't know what it is, but that's my observation, one man's opinion. Number three, he is desperate for you to keep watching him, and that's how the podcast business works. The more people who watch, the more money you make. The more outrageous you are, the more people will watch. Like watching a car accident or something like that. That's why you have Fuentes doing what he does. He believes it, but he does it. And that's why you have Tucker Carlson, who's turned into this bigoted, racist, anti-Semite, anti-Christian mouthpiece, in my humble opinion. And you got to get worse and worse and crazier. You have some of these people like Kelly dropping F-bombs left and right. It's an embarrassment. or Rogan who smoke pot on the air. They'll do whatever they have to do. They have to keep it up, keep the audience coming, keep it coming. Got to be number 1, got to be number 3, got to be number 28, whatever it is. And so they do these stunts. Like this entire stunt that Carlson did. It's outrageous. It's disgusting. He was treated with respect like a gentleman. And look what he does. Nobody believes him now. Everybody sees the video online. He leaks a story. The Daily Mail has a reporter who does a story with a crazy-ass headline who used to work for Tucker. What kind of unethical journalism is that? And they haven't apologized. They haven't written a correction. They haven't done anything. Utterly unethical. I am never going to be like that. I am never going to lose my core ever. And what you'll find in today's video podcast is actually a very deep discussion about your history, about the philosophers who your founders relied on, how we came to have a declaration, and eventually I'll get into the Constitution and some of these great founders and so forth. I have to believe that after all these years on radio, you, Mr. and Mrs. America, you don't want to hear the bigotry and the racism. You don't want to hear the lies. You don't want to hear the drama and all the rest. You want to learn. You want to engage. You want to love your country, defend your country. You are patriots. You are Levinites. That's the truth. I know how I could get 1 million followers right now, Mr. Producer. Get on here and start raging and ranting about an ethnic group, raging and ranting about whatever. When I take somebody on or take on a movement or an ideology, it's not for ratings, it's not for money, because it doesn't work that way on radio. It's because I believe in it. These guys create Jesse Smollett moments, and that is exactly what Tucker Carlson did. I will see you, if you want, on YouTube and on Rumble. A brand new show today. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Wealth tax. No, we don't believe in that stuff here. We don't care if there's billionaires, but we do care if there's illegal aliens, don't we? We do care if the government is wasting our money. We do care about a lot of those things. This guy Mondami in New York, as the New York Post points out, his words have come back to haunt him on property tax threats. That's because Marxists lie. It's because their whole ideology is defective. Marx's writings are thoroughly defective in too many ways to count. His tax promise aged about as well as Uncle Sam's complexion, writes the New York Post. I'm not sure what that means, nonetheless. Mondami's campaign vow to only ever raise taxes on the city's uber wealthy came back to haunt him on Thursday, after he threatened New Yorkers with a nearly 10% hike in property taxes. 3 million residences, 100,000 commercial properties, could be a dry cleaner, could be a deli. Now, he repeatedly made that vow on the campaign trail last year, including in viral social media videos telling voters he would only push Albany to raise taxes on people pulling in the most money each year in the city. This didn't age well, one commentator fumed. No, I don't want to pay more taxes, said Kareem Rama, the host of Subway Takes, an internet talk show, whoever the hell that is and whatever the hell that is. Now, you had to know that a Marxist is going to massively raise taxes and pretend they're just doing it on the wealthy. This is the game. It's the game Bernie Sanders plays. It's the game the most vile Marxist in our history. From Mao to Stalin to Un to Xi to Castro. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. State of the Union is Tuesday, as you obviously know. I'm told the president is very excited about it. He's very up about it. He wants to talk about many issues, but especially the economy, how it is moving significantly in the right direction, what he has done for the economy. So I decided, you know what, let me pull that together myself. In my opening on Saturday on my Fox show, let me talk about affordability again. And maybe we'll even give some ideas through the show to the administration and the president. But that said, you know, there used to be certain things, certain traditions and customs in this country that were not soiled. That were not soiled by Democrats, by the left, by politics generally. For instance, when a president gives a State of the Union speech, you put your ass in your seat, and they have it in the House of Representatives because that's the bigger auditorium than in the Senate. You don't have to applaud. You don't have to stand up, but at least you attend. This has been the tradition, but all these traditions have been broken. Been broken by the Democrats. They were broken in Trump's first term, and they're being broken again. And so here we have from the Washington Examiner at least a dozen House and Senate Democrats will skip President Trump's State of the Union address next week to instead attend a rally on the National Mall organized to protest the first year of his second term. You understand what I'm saying, folks? It's because the Democrat Party is really so radicalized now. It's got so many anti-American elements to it that it just doesn't care about our traditions and our customs. Several progressive leaders, what did I tell you? Progressive, commie leaders, will use the, quote, People's State of the Union. They even talk like communists. The bigger the thug, the more they pretend to talk about the people. They'll use the word reform. Hosted by Move On, a radical left-wing organization, liberal media outlet Midas Touch, to present an alternative vision for the country as Trump takes the podium for his second address before a joint session of Congress on Tuesday night, second address in his second term. That includes this guy, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut. This guy looks like the Grim Reaper. He is a disgusting reprobate. Considered a 2028 presidential hopeful. Go for it, baby. I can't wait to mock the hell out of you. As well as Representative Greg Cesar of Texas, the chairman of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, a.k.a. the Congressional Marxist Caucus. Joy Reid, remember that reprobate? And Katie Fong, both former MSLSD anchors who will co-host the event which will be streamed online shortly before Trump's remarks begin. So the hate America crowd, the hate Americans crowd, many of whom are bigots, they're going to have their own shindig during the State of the Union. Maybe we'll call theirs the state of confusion or state of insanity. Donald Trump has made a mockery of the State of the Union speech. Senator Murphy says this guy is so we've tried to get him on this program. He won't come on. Taking a moment that is meant to bring the country together and turning it into a campaign rally to spew hatred and division. What is this clown talking about? Democrats have no obligation to reward him with an audience as he lies and attacks people who disagree with him. There's always projection among the Marxists and the reprobates in the Democrat Party, always projection. They are and do and say and project it onto other people. The National Mall rally gives House Democrats the alternate site they've been considering to counter-program the State of the Union. Last year, they were widely panned for disrupting Trump's speech to Congress, and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has been urging a caucus to sit in quiet defiance or not go at all. Even Hakeem is telling, will you be quiet or sit down or not come? Because you're dealing with a bunch of like prepubescent reprobates. Senate Democrats have been discussing a boycott of their own, but most remain undecided. Besides Murphy, 4 Senate Democrats will initially be attending the counter rally, according to a Move On press release. So this MoveOn.org is a radical left Democrat operation. So this is all about the Democrat Party, Democrat politics. Senators Ed Markey, Jeff Merkley, Tina Smith, and Chris Van Hollen. This Van Hollen, in my view, is a Class A anti-Semite. That's just Mark's opinion. 6 more House Democrats will be in attendance at this counter event. Representatives Yasemin Ansari, Becca Balint, Veronica Escobar, Premelia Jayapal, Delia Ramirez, Bonnie Watson-Coleman. Jayapal is the former chairwoman of the Congressional Marxist, a.k.a. Progressive Caucus. Just one way the Democrats plan to counter-program the State of the Union, which provides Trump with a venue to tout his domestic and foreign policy agenda. It provides every president the opportunity to do that. A president is required to give a State of the Union under the Constitution. Under the Constitution. This year's State of the Union will take place in the middle of a partial government shutdown. Of course, the Democrats have shut down part of the government. The president will use it as a bully pulpit and on and on and on. We know that. And he should. Because really, for this president in particular, he has to go over the head of the corrupt media, the Democrats, the usual, miscreants and malcontents, and talk directly to the American people. That's what he's going to have to do, and that's what he's going to do. But even an event like this, the Democrats always like Rodney King. Can't we get along? Can't we be unified? So here's the State of the Union. Yeah, well, we're going to have Joy Reid. That's unification. And this guy, Chris Murphy, who looks like death. He really does. He's not a white American. He's not a Caucasoid. He is a translucent. I don't even know if he's American. American, I guess. So he claims. But a real jackass. That's the bottom line. But they can't even show enough class and respect enough history and tradition and respect you to show up and behave themselves. Now, let me ask you something. Those of you who have children and grandchildren, if your children and or grandchildren conducted themselves this way, whether it's in a movie theater or a class play or at a sporting event or whatever it is, and they disrupted the event, or they said, you know what, we're going to have an event outside, you'd say, sit in your chair. So they act like, as I said earlier, a bunch of prepubescent punks. They're going to show us. They're going to show the country. They're going to resist, They're going to resist. So the State of the Union. Now, the State of the Union will be carried 9 p.m. Eastern Time, immediately following my program. But the more information we get about it, I will tell you, now, most States of the Union addresses are quite forgettable. But one thing Trump is not is forgettable. So I suspect he will say some very, very important, compelling, and funny things. And then, of course, there's the issue of Iran. We'll see how that's addressed. Obviously, he can't get too in the weeds on that. But we will watch. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know what Pure Talk's favorite holiday is? President's Day. Because they believe wireless service should only cost you a couple of presidents. Just a Jackson and a Lincoln, to be exact. For $25 a month, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Now compare that to big wireless. They'd rather celebrate Benjamin Franklin Day so they can charge your family hundreds every month, and he wasn't even a president. That's not right. You deserve better. Pure Talk is an American wireless company that supports our veterans and invests in a U.S.-only customer service team. When you call, you're talking to someone right here at home. Pure Talk uses the same towers as the big carriers, so enjoy superior 5G coverage without the inflated price. Just $25 a month for talk, text, plenty of data, no contract, no cancellation fee. Don't wait any longer, folks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin. You'll get 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch to Pure Talk. A lot of weird stuff going on, I must say, today. So they arrested this former Prince Andrew. That must be really ugly, Mr. Producer. Really ugly what's going on there. I mean, the king wants nothing to do with him. The family wants nothing to do with him. You know, like Bannon, I would think that nobody wants anything to do with him, maybe other than Megyn Kelly, but I don't know. I don't know if she's had him on lately. Maybe Tucker is still tight with Bannon and that whole Epstein circle there. I don't know. Just asking questions, you know. But it's really crazy. Let's take a look at the Sun, the U.S. Sun. Andrew, they have a picture of him leaving the police station as he's released under investigation 11 hours after a dawn raid. This guy's part of the royal family. And, of course, he's dragging down the royal family. I got to say, Charles, and he's had to deal with that idiot younger son of his and his idiot wife. That is Harry's idiot wife. He's had to deal with his brother. He's had a tough time of it, and he's been quite sick himself. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has left a police station. And they have a picture of him where he's leaning back in the car because he doesn't want to be photographed. Too late, pal. He turned 66 today. Happy birthday. He's arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. He was arrested this morning, now released. But the police combed the Royal Lodge in their search for evidence. Now, that Royal Lodge, you know, it's downgraded from one of the castles. He's in a Royal Lodge, and honestly, Charles is paying for all of it, but I think Charles has had enough of this guy. The ex-Duke was pictured trying to lay low in the back of a black Range Rover. It's understood he was released under investigation. Around 6:50 p.m., the former prince returned to Wood Farm just after 8 p.m., using the back entrance to evade photographers at the front. It was the same side entrance Andrew was driven out by officers in the morning. Witnesses said the car carrying Andrew on the 1-hour journey from the police station was driven by... Who cares about the travel arrangements? Who cares? I mean, it really is crazy. And King Charles, well, what's he going to do? He put out a very classy statement, I thought. He put out a very classy statement. He said, well, first of all, he's 77 years old. He said, I've learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, in other words, his little brother, and suspicion of misconduct in public office. The suspicion is he had sex with underage girls. That's the suspicion. That's the suspicion. How underage were they would be the question I think Kelly would ask, don't you, Mr. Producer? Didn't Megan raise that issue before? I'm not attacking her. I'm just trying to remind myself, trying to remember. There's young and there's very young, apparently. But that's not what the law says. What now follows is the full, fair, and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities, the king said. And this, as I have said before, they have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course. As this process continues, it would not be right for me to comment further in this matter. Meanwhile, my family and I will continue in our duty and service to you all. Charles. The president was asked about this. Number 14, Mr. Producer. The president was asked about this on Air Force One. Here's what he had to say, and he was asked by by Ducey. Cut 14, go.
Prince Andrew arrested by the police there, related to something with Jeffrey Epstein. Do you think people in this country at some point, associates of Jeffrey Epstein, will wind up in handcuffs too?
Well, I'm the expert in a way because I've been totally exonerated. That's very nice. I can actually speak about it very nicely. I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's a very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing. When I see that, it's a very sad thing. To see it and to see what's going on with his brother, who's obviously coming to our country very soon, and he's a fantastic man, the king. So I think it's a very sad thing. It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they speak. But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated. I did nothing. In fact, the opposite. He was against me. He was fighting me in the election, which I just found out through the last 3 million pages.
It's time to get off the president's back about this whole Epstein thing. I've never been on it, but you've got these groypers, these grifters. It's just this so-called independent media is such a cesspool. Such a cesspool, which is why I'm trying to encourage people to do this the right way, to do these podcasts the right way. To put these clowns behind them. They're not us. They're not conservatives. They're not MAGA. Most of them aren't even Republicans. They have no standards. They have no character. They have no morals. And so they throw around stuff. They try and hype people. We thought it was bad when there wasn't this alternative media. Now, some of the alternative media is great. But there's a huge cesspool out there. And that's why it's necessary for good people to get involved and do the right thing. Excuse me. And do the right thing. And I know people say, John Locke and the Constitution and the Declaration. Okay, fine. But I'm going to talk about those things here and there, as well as other things that I think are important. But I'm not going to do this hyper nonsense. If I get angry about something and passionate about something, there's a reason for it. But it's hopefully the exception, not the rule. And you will not hear me with F-bombs left and right. I never want people to say I did that. I never want any recording of it because I don't do it. I don't want my children and grandchildren and friends to be embarrassed by me when these other people do it left and right. I find it uncouth and unbecoming that people can't communicate using proper language. And so they lower themselves. They lower the audience. They think it's attractive when it's ugly. So we're going to do things very, very differently as I do behind this microphone. We spent the first 45 minutes of the first hour talking about liberty, property, wealth, taxes, as well as these other things that we're talking about now. But very, very important. You can check us out, by the way, at YouTube, Liberty's Voice, Rumble, Liberty's Voice. Take a view. Take a look. I'll be right back. You know what Pure Talk's favorite holiday is? President's Day. Because they believe wireless service should only cost you a couple of presidents. Just a Jackson and a Lincoln, to be exact. For $25 a month, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Now compare that to Big Wireless. They'd rather celebrate Benjamin Franklin Day so they can charge your family hundreds every month, and he wasn't even a president. That's not right. You deserve better. Pure Talk is an American wireless company that supports our veterans and invests in a U.S.-only customer service team. When you call, you're talking to someone right here at home. Pure Talk uses the same towers as the big carriers, so enjoy superior 5G coverage without the inflated price. Just $25 a month for talk, text, plenty of data, no contract, no cancellation fee. Don't wait any longer, folks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin. You'll get 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch to Pure Talk.
America's most powerful conservative voice. The Mark Levin Show. Dial in now. 877-381-3811.
You know, I want to remind you people. In fact, I want to celebrate you people. You folks in the audience here. And I know our affiliates feel the same way about you. You are the most patriotic, intelligent people in the country. To listen to this program where we get heavy into philosophy and economics and history as well as other issues, something that talk radio didn't do in the past but does now. And same with this video podcasting. I'm telling you, you folks are fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And it is always a pleasure when I bump into you at the grocery store, at a diner, or at a bigger restaurant, or at some event. I'm wearing my hat, my coat. People notice me. I'm just blessed that there are people like you still around, patriots, who yearn to know more, who love their country. That's what we're all about here. This show's about Americanism and patriotism. Same with the Fox show and so forth. And by the way, this weekend on Sunday, Life, Liberty, and Levin, the first TV interview with Dennis Prager. On Sunday's Life, Liberty, and Levin. He had a horrendous accident getting out of the shower. He fell, hit the back of his head on the bathtub, and broke his neck. They didn't think he'd survive. He's a fighter. And he's paralyzed pretty much from the neck down. His mind was unaffected by it. He could have gone into a deep depression, but he fights it. My wife has kept in touch with his wife over a period of time. And there's a brand new book coming out. You imagine this? How remarkable this guy is? It's coming out next Tuesday. And he asked if I would agree to the first interview, the exclusive interview on Fox on Sunday. I said, absolutely. To our people, yes, tell them yes. And then he sent me a short video talking to me. And what an honor. Thomas Sowell doesn't do TV anymore. He's in his mid-90s. I'm one of those who believes quite strongly he ought to get the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I know people are lobbying the president for it. Because Thomas Sowell is one of the great thinkers of our time and all time. One of the great writers, one of the great patriots. The Milton Friedman era, the Bill Buckley era, the Ed Meese era, and so forth. One of my great heroes, intellectual heroes. Brave man. He had a beautiful column. Weekly column, I believe, maybe bi-weekly. And when his last book came out, he said, I want to launch it on Levin's Fox show. And the reason is I do these long-form interviews. And then, of course, they come on our radio program the following Tuesday when the book is actually released, and I'm more than happy to have them. In fact, I'm thrilled about it. Thrilled about it. Jonathan Turley, who's become a very good friend of mine, he's a good man, launches his books on my show. Peter Schweitzer, dear friend of the family, launches his books on my show. Now, why? Because of me? No, because of you. In this radio audience, you. Because you want to know, you want to learn, you want to hear about these things. You're tired of the Marxists and the Islamists and the woke right neo-fascists. You're tired of the media beating up on Mr. and Mrs. America, you beating up on our country, our cops, our military. You're sick and tired of it, as am I. You love America? You want to know more about America? You want to know more about our history? You want to know more about our founders who are not well known? You want to know about these various battles? You want to know, and I am here to share it with you. And when we get great men and women thinkers whose writings and knowledge will live beyond their lives and beyond our life, it is an honor for me to bring them to you. And it's an honor for me when they ask me to help launch their book. But it's all because of you in this audience, the radio audience. If you weren't there, none of this would be happening. If we didn't have our great affiliates, none of this would be happening. Great broadcast companies. Our wonderful satellite company, and so forth and so on. Truly, I mean this. You do this. And so I try to bring as much of this to you as possible because I don't think there's anywhere else you're going to get it. In the popular media and the broader media. Now, we were just talking about Congress. And I've always wondered why some people think, not most of you, that government is so righteous. That they should have more and more power, more and more of your money. That the government will redistribute wealth in a just way. That the government will create equality in finances. That the government knows how to run things. What's the government? It's a bunch of bureaucrats and politicians. Really? They know less than anybody else how to run things, quite frankly. And then we have this scandal. Months before death by suicide, aide texted she had an affair with Congressman. I go, what? This is CBS News. Regina Santos Avila, an aide to Representative Tony Gonzalez. This guy's very liberal. He's a Republican in Texas. Wrote a text message to a colleague that she had an affair with the Republican congressman. Months later, this is sad. The 35-year-old died after allegedly setting herself on fire, Mr. Producer. They say she committed suicide by setting herself on fire. She texted, I had an affair with our boss and I'm fine, Santos Avila said in a text exchange with a friend, which was viewed by CBS News. And the news was first reported by the San Antonio Express News. Santos Avila died on September 14th last year after she was found critically burned the night before near her home in Uvalde, according to the Uvalde Police Department. Why did it take all these months for this to be reported? The Bexar County Medical Examiner ruled the death a suicide in November, according to CBS San Antonio affiliate KENS. In a statement on this Wednesday, Gonzalez would not comment on the allegations, saying he would not, quote, engage in these personal smears and instead remain focused on helping President Trump secure the border and improve the lives of all Texans. You know, we don't want to hear the political bull from this guy. This guy needs to come clean. If he didn't do it, then say it emphatically. If he did do it, resign. That's all. I'm talking about an affair. In November, an appearance on a panel, the 45-year-old congressman denied the affair, saying the rumors are completely untrue. He's a married father of 6. The aide, 35, was a married mother and had a son. Somebody sets themselves on fire. I think Mr. Gonzalez, at a minimum, has some explaining to do. I'm not accusing him of anything. But you don't get to blow it off with one sentence and say, I'm sticking to my agenda, helping the... excuse me. Somebody died a horrible death. Apparently a suicide. She claims in a text to have had an affair with you. I think people have a right to know about this, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or a kumquat. People have a right to know one way or the other. So blowing people off and then asking for their vote, as far as I'm concerned, is not acceptable. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know what Pure Talk's favorite holiday is? President's Day. Because they believe wireless service should only cost you a couple of presidents. Just a Jackson and a Lincoln, to be exact. For $25 a month, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Now compare that to big wireless. They'd rather celebrate Benjamin Franklin Day so they can charge your family hundreds every month, and he wasn't even a president. That's not right. You deserve better. Pure Talk is an American wireless company that supports our veterans and invests in a U.S.-only customer service team. When you call, you're talking to someone right here at home. Pure Talk uses the same towers as the big carriers, so enjoy superior 5G coverage without the inflated price. Just $25 a month for talk, text, plenty of data, no contract, no cancellation fee. Don't wait any longer, folks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin. You'll get 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch to Pure Talk. Next hour, by the way, we're going to have the chairman of the committee that has been working on and trying to usher through the SAVE Act, which, among other things, requires identification before you can vote, which apparently is something the Democrats are very upset about because they don't believe in that. They believe in it in every other respect, but they don't believe in it when it comes to voting. And President Trump was asked about voter ID in his visit today in Rome, Georgia. Cut 16 there, boss. And here's what he had to say. Go.
Voter ID. The Democrats don't want to give us voter ID because they want to cheat. The only way they can cheat is if they... Look, we can stop them so easy. You know what they say? We don't want voter ID because it's racist. Okay? That's a good one. It's racist, no. I'll tell you what, when they look at the polls, 95% of the people want voter ID. Then you have proof of citizenship. So we want voter ID. We want proof of citizenship. For you to vote, let's prove that you're an American. So please, proof of citizenship. They're fighting that. They're fighting that. And then we don't want to have mail-in ballots where they're mailed in from all parts of the place. Mail-in ballots are crooked as hell. We're the only country in the world that use this type of mail-in ballot. The only country in the world.
I remember decades ago when Chris Dodd, remember that name? Senator Chris Dodd from Connecticut, and Ted Kennedy and Barney Frank from Massachusetts decided to push motor voter. Bill Clinton did too. Motor voter, which tremendously loosened up the voting system and the protections in the voting system nationwide. It was fought by people like me. It was fought by conservatives on Capitol Hill. But we lost. And thus began the unraveling of our voting system. And the Democrats, every session, they come up with H.R. 1, the same bill, which would enshrine the Democrat Party as the victorious party in virtually every election, certainly every national election. It would not only destroy all safeguards against fraud, it would create new fraud opportunities, but make them legal. Legal. The Democrats want power at all costs. That's what I explained in my book, On Power. That's what I explained in my book, The Democrat Party Hates America. They don't care if you vote as long as they win, as long as they have power. They don't care who votes, as long as they vote for them. Illegal alien, vote twice, vote for dead people, vote out of your precinct. Doesn't matter. And if anybody challenges it, you're either racist or you should be prosecuted because you're interfering with the voting system. You know, folks, and during the break, go ahead, sign up. Sign up at Rumble. Sign up at YouTube for Liberty's Voice. And make sure you view the program that we've done today after the radio program. I think you're going to love it. And as long as you view, I'll keep doing it. If you don't view it, I won't do it. See you in a moment.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Tom Cotton is a great patriot. He's a combat veteran. Very, very nice man, decent man, a good friend of mine and the family, I might add. He's exactly what you want from a public official, a real statesman, a real good man. And he posted something I knew nothing about a gentleman by the name of Roddy Edmonds. And I wanted to share this with you so you could hear it too. Tom Cotton talking about Roddy Edmonds. Cut 19, go.
January 27th, 1945. A bitterly cold morning in northwest Germany. Master Sergeant Roddy Edmonds prayed one last time for courage, as he had through a cold, sleepless night. You see, Sergeant Edmonds was the senior man among nearly 1,300 American prisoners of war in a brutal Nazi POW camp. Just 24, his men looked up to him. One soldier recalled, Roddy was cut from a different cloth than the rest of us. Another sergeant added, Roddy was different, determined, and steady as a rock. By that morning, Sergeant Edmonds had held his troops together for more than a month of captivity, starvation rations, forced marches, and freezing cold. But today was different. The previous afternoon, the camp's loudspeakers crackled with a chilling order. Tomorrow morning at roll call, all Jewish Americans must assemble. Only the Jews, no one else. All who disobey will be shot. Sergeant Edmonds' response was immediate. We're not doing that. He ordered his senior men. Every American falls out in the morning, even the sick and infirm. And every soldier would say he's Jewish. Every single one. No one could disobey or misunderstand, or the plan would fail. Roddy checked his men throughout the night, ensuring they were ready. In between, he prayed with them. Proverbs 28:1. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. At 0600, the Americans formed up in the frigid darkness, Sergeant Edmonds in command, the sick leaning on the men next to them. They waited. A Nazi major approached, astonished. He yelled at Roddy, "What is this, a joke?" Roddy stared straight ahead and declared, "Under Article 17 of the Geneva Convention, prisoners of war are only required to provide name, rank, and serial number." The major barked, "Were my orders not clear, Sergeant? Only the Jews were to fall out." Still staring ahead, Roddy replied, "Major, we'll give you name, rank, and serial number. That's all." The Nazis screamed, "They can't all be Jews." Now, Roddy looked him straight in the eyes and answered, "We are all Jews here." His defiant bravery swept through the ranks. No one moved. Enraged, the Nazi drew his pistol and pressed the muzzle right between Roddy's eyes. "Sergeant, one last chance. You will order the Jews to step forward, or I will shoot you right now." Again, no one moved. After a long silence, Roddy calmly replied, "Major, you can shoot me, but you'll have to kill all of us, because we know who you are, and you will be tried for war crimes when we win this war, and you will pay." There they stood, a Nazi and an American GI, staring each other down, one filled with genocidal hatred, one with God's love. Still, no one moved, until the Nazi lowered his weapon and stormed off. Because of Roddy Edmonds' singular heroism that fateful morning, more than 200 American Jews survived. Roddy's son, Pastor Chris Edmonds, estimates that more than 12,000 people have lived over these last 75 years because of his dad's actions in that POW camp. Today, Chris reflects on the moral of his dad's incredible story. We all have the potential to change the world simply by standing up for what's right. Roddy Edmonds stood for what's right, righteous and bold as a lion.
Beautiful. And I want to thank Senator Cotton for making that known. I also want to tell you about a post that I read by Afshin Imrani, MD. An Iranian Muslim diplomat saved more Jews than Oskar Schindler, he writes, and almost no one knows his name. Abdul Hossein Sardari was Iran's consul in Nazi-occupied Paris. When he realized Iranian Jews in France were being marked for extermination, he didn't look away. He didn't wait for permission. He acted. He began issuing Iranian passports that deliberately left out the holder's religion. First for Iranian Jews, then for any Jew he could reach. But here's where it gets unbelievable. He walked into rooms full of Nazi officials and argued to their faces that Iranian Jews weren't racially Jewish, but Aryan. In other words, he used the Nazis' own twisted ideology as a weapon against them. And it worked. When Tehran ordered him home, he refused. When the embassy ran out of money, he used his own. When Jews needed a place to hide, he opened the Iranian consulate itself, sheltering families and guarding their belongings while they fled. He was estimated to have saved between 2,000 and 3,000 Jewish lives. The great Schindler saved 1,200. Years later, the Islamic Republic executed his nephew, former Prime Minister Amir Abbas Havoida, and erased much of his family's legacy in Iran. But you cannot erase what he did. A Muslim man, an Iranian diplomat, a hero who risked everything, his career, his fortune, his life, for people who are not his own. May his memory be a blessing. Today we Jews owe it to Sardari to speak out for the persecuted people of Iran. and help save whoever we can. Free Iran. And without even knowing that story, I call this program Radio Free America for a reason. I stand with the people of Iran. All the diplomacy and negotiation and talking, almost none of it is about the people of Iran. The brave people of Iran who have tried with their bare hands, with their voices, to overthrow a genocidal Islamist Nazi regime. Tens of thousands have paid with their lives. Tens of thousands of young people, the age of your children and grandchildren. I pray to God that their courage and their death and the deaths that are taking place, the murders that are taking place as I am speaking to you, are not for naught. We need to help these people because they, with their marching, with their voices, with their bare hands, have tried to help all of humanity all around the globe, especially in the United States of America. With the Iranian Nazi regime has murdered some 1,000 of Americans, and we act like it's no big deal. They have maimed thousands and thousands of Americans in the war in Iraq, and we act like it's no big deal. It's a big damn deal. Even today, they're trying to build up their nuclear resources with the help of China and North Korea and Russia. And ladies and gentlemen, no deal will be a deal. No deal will be honored. Maybe in the short run, but that's it. This is an Islamist regime. They believe that deals are a means to an end. There can be no great deal with verification and swearing off nuclear weapons and swearing off terrorism. They are terrorists. They have a mindset of barbarians. They will slaughter us, as many of us as possible. Terrorists with a mindset of the 7th century Islamists, with nuclear warheads and ICBMs, assisted by the communist Chinese, fascistic Putin, and the inbred in North Korea. And the idea that we should leave this to our children and grandchildren is immoral. It's unconscionable. And to leave these people, after we promise to help them and encourage them to protest, that would be immoral and unconscionable too. That's why, in the deepest recesses of my soul and my conscience, I don't believe we will. For some paper agreement. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Welcome back, America. We're here with Representative Brian Steil. First time on the program, I believe. Chairman of the House Administration Committee. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why is it that the Democrats are so hell-bent on opposing voter ID? Only one voted for it, that Henry Cellular, I believe, from Texas. Every single one. And then they make an excuse. Well, if it's a picture ID, we can go for that. What's going on here?
Well, the Democrats don't want to strengthen election integrity, and they have made this almost a religious calling on their side because time and again, the evidence and the clear common sense practices are on our side. The Democrats made very similar arguments that they're making against the Save America Act as they did in the state of Georgia in 2021. In 2021, Joe Biden, then president, would call the Georgia election integrity legislation Jim Crow 2.0. And since then, Georgia's run 2 major state elections. And so we can look back to see, did all the fear-mongering of the Democrats actually materialize? And what we see is in the state of Georgia, high voter participation and people being satisfied with how the elections were run. And so we know, as conservatives, as Republicans, that if we put in place common sense, core election integrity principles, we can have the election integrity we want. We can gain people's trust in the system. And when people gain trust, more people are likely to participate. And that's a good thing for our democracy.
No, you're right. And they are objecting to certain things involving record keeping and making sure the rolls are clean. Why is that a problem, too? I don't get it. Don't we want clean elections?
Well, there's only one rational reason to think why the Democrats want to gut election integrity, and it follows, of course, after Joe Biden allowed millions of illegal immigrants into this country in an undocumented and unstructured and chaotic manner. This is why putting in place the Save America Act and other election integrity principles is so absolutely important, that we should be verifying individuals or United States citizens when they register to vote, that people should show photo identification to show they are who they say they are. And then we should build on that and have clean voter rolls. We should have paper ballots that are auditable. We should ban ballot harvesting, as they do in my home state of Wisconsin. We should ban ranked choice voting. And we should get on with the work of making sure that our elections have the integrity that Americans deserve in our electoral system.
Well, the only conclusion a rational human being could reach is they don't want election integrity. As a matter of fact, they introduced that damnable H.R. 1 at the beginning of every session that would destroy every single barrier to fraud and, in fact, institutionalize fraud in many cases, wouldn't it?
I managed the debate on the House floor as Democrat after Democrat came down and argued in favor of H.R. 1. And what you saw is that in each argument that they would make, what would occur was they wanted to weaken election integrity, election security. They want to legalize ballot harvesting. They want federal taxpayer dollars to be used in campaigns. They want to ban photo identification. They want to prevent states from maintaining their voter lists. And so there is a real clear contrast here between what the national radical Democrats want to do with election integrity and what those of common sense, President Trump and Republicans, want to do by putting in place common sense principles to make sure that the rules of the road are fair, honest, and actually work in an election.
We're talking to Congressman Brian Steil, a good man here. He's chairman of the House Administration Committee. Now, Congressman, when you add on to that, they're closing down the TSA or trying to, and FEMA and so forth, because they want to protect illegal aliens from being deported. And among their so-called reforms is to ensure that nobody can be questioned at a voting booth. Doesn't that add even additional evidence to the fact that they want fraud?
Well, it's pretty clear what they were trying to do when President Biden was in office. They were not only allowing millions of people into the country illegally, they were then trying to couple that with weakening voter integrity provisions and driving forward opportunities where people could take advantage of the system. This is why it's all the more important after we won the election in 2024. President Trump comes into office. Republicans control the House of Representatives and the United States Senate, that it's absolutely imperative and incumbent upon us to actually put in place the election integrity reforms that are so needed and so common sense. And that's where the House passed the Save America Act, putting in place the principles that say you need to be a U.S. citizen, you need photo ID, and I think we need to go further than that, which is why I introduced the MEGA Act, Make Elections Great Again, because I think we also have to clean up voter rolls, ban ballot harvesting, et cetera. We know exactly where the Democrats would like to take us if they ever got universal control again, and it's our opportunity here with the majorities that we have to force through the United States Senate these election integrity reforms.
Well, right there, you raise a very interesting point. It went through the House barely because you have you have the bare majority. What the heck's going on over in the Senate?
Well, a lot of us look at the United States Senate, those of us who are members of the House, and shake our heads. We have an opportunity here with a very narrow majority, not only in the House, but also only a 3-seat majority in the United States Senate. And that's our opportunity to drive forward the reforms we need. This past summer, we passed the One Big Beautiful Bill with no Democrat help, passing it only on Republican votes. It made meaningful and substantive reforms in tax policy in other areas. This is our opportunity to look to the Senate and say, guys, we got to drive this through the United States Senate and have it signed into law, because this is our one chance maybe to actually have the election integrity we know we need.
All right, Americans, Levinites, call your senators. Tell them you want the SAVE Act passed now. The SAVE Act passed now. Congressman Steil, I want to thank you for your patriotism in pushing this, too. God bless you, my friend. Come back. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Denali, the great one.
The great one.
And you can call in now. 877-381-3811.
We be here. Okay, let me pull up the calls here, see what we got. Let's see what we got here. Okay. There we go. All right. John, Lanham, Maryland, the great WMAL. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, I was just telling your call taker, Mr. Levin, that it reminded me of these, when you talk about the Democrats not going to be there, that, they don't want to show up for the State of the Union address, President Trump's State of the Union address. It reminded me of when the Nazi Socialist Party, when they would walk out, when Kaiser was still trying to hold the parliament together in Germany, and they would just get up and walk out, so they disrupted everything, so they couldn't get anything done. And it's just a shame that power means that much to so many people, that no matter what, and I mean, obviously they don't have the welfare of the average American in their hearts or in their minds, or they don't care. No,
the Democrat Party is a party that seeks power for power's sake. They want control. You see this in labor and liberal parties in Europe that are more Marxist than anything else, and so is the Democrat Party. And I've been trying to get the nomenclature, the vocabulary changed in this country, certainly on talk radio and on cable, to call them what they are, and to a great extent we've succeeded. They're not just socialists and progressives, they're worse. They are Marxists. That's their mentality, that's what they believe. It's an Americanized form of Marxism, not the old European or German Marxism, but it is Marxism nonetheless. Thank you for your call, John. Let's be honest, folks. Many of you are struggling with your bills. I get it. 2 bills in particular. Your credit card bills, because of the balance that just never goes down and you can't pay it down, and the massive interest on it. Plus, these insurance bills, even many of you who are on Obamacare and so forth, that has destroyed the healthcare market, and prices are completely out of control. All this thanks to the Biden regime and the Obama regime, but you have to live with the entrails. You have to live with the consequences of all this. And that is unaffordability. The Democrats want to talk about affordability. Well, let's do it. Now, in your own case, if you're a homeowner and you're caught in that cycle, you need to break free. How do you break free? Well, right now, mortgage rates are at a 3-year low, and they just went down today again, I saw. And our good friends at American Financing are helping homeowners pay off that high-interest debt at rates in the low 5s. Their salary-based mortgage consultants don't just push loans, they build exit strategies from debt. On average, they're saving their customers $800 a month, $10,000 a year, and you might be able to do better. Now, if you start today, you might even be able to delay the next 2 mortgage payments. So I want to encourage you to jump in with both feet rather than getting ripped off and burning money. There are no upfront fees, no obligations. To find out how much you can save, America's home for home loans is American Financing. I use them. My daughter and son-in-law use them. Mr. Producer, use them. So I can tell you from personal experience. Call American Financing today. Right now, they're there. 888-900-1828. Hello. 888-900-1828. 888-900-1828. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net.
NMLS 182334. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. APR rates are in the 5s. Start at 6.196% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 888-900-1828 for details about credit costs and terms.
All right, let's go to Derio, Clearfield, Pennsylvania, on the Mark Levin app. How are you?
Hi, Mark. Good to speak with you again.
Thank you.
Comment and a quick question on the SAVE Act. First, a comment. I think we ought to take a page out of one of the boys from the Daily Wire. They had an idea that if the Democrats are now all so excited about the filibuster, give them 3 months or 6 months to permanently enshrine it in the Constitution, or else then we do whatever we have to do.
All right, now let's slow down. That's an interesting point. Hold on. Let's slow down. It's an interesting point. What they're saying and what you're repeating, I suppose, is put them to the test. Because if they come in the majority, they're going to abolish the filibuster. Put them to the test. Let's put it in the Constitution. And if they won't do it, then I suppose their point is, well, then we ought to get rid of it too and do what we can now before they eventually take over all or part of the elected parts of government. Is that the point, pretty much?
Correct. Have them argue on their own behalf. They love it all of a sudden. Make it permanent.
I like it. I like it.
All right. And then the question part of that is, if we do have to bust the filibuster and it disappears permanently and then it's a pure majority rule, if we are able to get the
Which, by the way, I don't like. I don't agree with those who say get rid of the filibuster.
Agreed. It's not preferable either. But
because I don't... Hold on now. We're trying to have a discussion. The reason I don't believe in getting rid of the filibuster is because I don't believe in a parliamentary system effectively where the majority can push through anything they want, because it's more difficult to unravel it than the past stuff. But the Daily Wire's point is a good point. If they're going to get rid of the filibuster when they have a majority, let's put them to the test now. If they won't agree to a constitutional amendment to add it to the Constitution, then we know where they're going, and we should get there first, as damaging as that is. Okay, go ahead. I need to explain it.
Exactly. And then the question part is, if it then becomes just a pure majority rule situation, if we manage to get it passed without the filibuster, are they able to repeal it just as easily when they regain power?
I suppose so. Because if there's no filibuster, then it's majority rule. Right?
Correct. That's what I'm just trying to feel out.
I mean, the whole thing is so ridiculous. We got to be worried about the institutional red lines because the Democrat Party won't adhere to them. That's the bottom line. They want to, if they eliminate the filibuster, it's over because they will stuff the court. They will do all these things. You see how they're destroying Virginia in 2 months, 60 days. Have they destroyed California, the home of Ronald Reagan? New York is a complete disaster. They turn these states, these blue states, populated states, some of them have been the wealthiest states, some of them were the most economically vibrant states, and they destroy them. And so now they want to do it nationally. And so you and I, the Daily Wire, all of us, we have to think of strategies to try and put barriers in front of them because apparently they're not going to comply with the Constitution even though they wave it around. All right, my friend, thank you for your call. I appreciate it. President Trump, cut 17, Mr. Producer, on the right to impose tariffs. I want to get into this a little bit. Cut 17, go.
Without tariffs, what would you do? You know what? Everybody would be bankrupt, everybody. The whole country would be bankrupt. And I have to wait for this decision. I've been waiting forever. And the language is clear that I have the right to do it as president. I have the right to put tariffs on for national security purposes, countries that have been ripping us off for years. You know what they were doing? Using tariffs. What a country. So sad.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's interesting here, and I want to underscore what I said a week or two ago, the Supreme Court hasn't ruled yet. Now, why is that? There's a couple reasons for this. Number one, you really can't bifurcate national security and foreign policy from commerce, including tariffs. So why does that matter? Well, number two, the president has effectively plenary authority in making foreign policy and ensuring national security, even though Congress has the power of the purse. So a tariff, they argue, is an indirect tax, and therefore they argue that only Congress can set tariffs and impose taxes. Well, what's the problem with that? Number three, we know that's not true because Congress has created, and I believe unconstitutionally, this massive bureaucracy that through its regulations creates indirect taxes far more than tariffs. And the court has found that entire institution and equation to be constitutional. Now, what does that lead to? Well, the next point. How does the court write an opinion creating black letter law with clear lines on where the president's power begins and ends and Congress's power begins and ends when it comes to a tariff that has both tax implications indirectly and national security and foreign policy implications certainly? And the president has in fact used tariffs for foreign policy purposes, for national security purposes. So where do these 9 lawyers draw the line and how do they explain it? What's the test? And I gave them an out. I gave them an out on multiple occasions on TV and on radio. Get out of the case. Overrule the lower court. That is, reverse the ruling of the lower court that said the president's tariffs were unconstitutional. You justices know, in fact, that on many occasions you have not ruled that a president's implementation of tariffs are unconstitutional. In fact, when President Reagan and others have put in place quotas, which have the same impact, nobody even challenged it as unconstitutional. That's a point, an important point. But the more important point is, what are they going to say? What are they going to write that makes any sense? So they should reverse the lower court and then hold that, number one, it's either a political question. If they're not comfortable with that, number two, it's not ripe for decision making. Why? Because the other branch that's supposedly involved is not involved. What do you mean? Even though the power of the purse, indirect taxation, you might argue, belongs to Congress through tariffs, Congress hasn't brought the lawsuit. Congress hasn't even tried to pass legislation challenging the president. It's not a party. Now, that in and of itself doesn't make it constitutional, but it certainly adds to the argument that the court should stay out of it. If they're having that much difficulty, and I think they are, trying to figure out how to respond to this, then they're moving into politics and policy, and they should get out of it. It's a separation of powers issue. The problem is, where do you separate it and which power? So it doesn't hurt to leave it to the political branches to continue to duke it out. And maybe at some point, someday in the future, a case will arise that is justiciable. This is not that case. President Trump should win. She should win by them reversing lower court's decision, getting out of the case, and leave Trump's tariffs alone and let Congress act if Congress wants to act. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
All right, folks, another program that went by fast, in my humble opinion. Too fast. All right, we have less than a minute left in the program. I want to thank you for being here. Remember, radio is very, very important. You in the audience, you're the smartest of the smart people. You really are, to be listening to this program. I hope you're enjoying our Liberty's Voice, our brand new video podcast. We're putting a lot of work and effort into it. No, No foreign government, no billionaires paying for it. Me, myself, and I. Check it out on YouTube. Check it out. I think you're going to like it on Rumble. And I want to salute all you heroes out there, all of you in the audience, all of our allies, you, the American people, red-blooded Americans. Pray that we come to the rescue of the Iranian people. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening.